Hi, I'm Nick,
And I'm Ally.
and this is But Have You Tried from the David A. Howe Public Library. Today, for the second time in a row, for our main segment here, we have a guest, and that guest is Nick Davis from the NDVision podcast. Nick, welcome.
Hello.
Ellie and I were discussing last time whether or not it was even allowed for you to submit a suggestion, because that's
Right.
typically outside of our rules. But we allowed it as a professional courtesy.
Well, also,
So,
we didn't really there are no written rules.
that's true.
We maybe should have made like a ship's contract kind of thing at the beginning before we started this all.
Yeah.
But we didn't. It only exists in our minds.
That's right.
So
But you exploited a loophole, and here we are talking about talking about Dragon Ball Z. I was on the NDVision podcast, one of the early episodes, and I had a good time doing it. How? Tell us a little bit about the podcast. How's it going? Who are you talking to?
It's going good. I just released my 12th episode today.
Okay,
So this was with the professor of physics and astronomy at Alfred University. So we talked about the new solar eclipse that's happening April 8th of next year.
Now, is he a Dragon Ball fan, or
He's not a Dragon Ball
Didn't
fan.
come up? Okay.
I don't think so.
You don't? You're just guessing.
you didn't ask.
You don't
so you
know.
don't know.
I
Come on.
don't know. I don't know. But he's a very smart man, and it's a very interesting podcast. about
Okay,
space.
that sounds good. Now, when you and I were talking,
Mm-hmm.
you just happened to be wearing a shirt with Goku on it. This time you are, and I assume that it's intentional, but last time was just coincidence.
Or maybe he wears a shirt with Goku on it every single day. There's
That's
no way
true.
to know.
Do you wear a Goku
Wear a
shirt
Goku
every day?
shirt every day.
Not every day, but I do wear Dragon Ball Z quite a bit.
Okay.
Not
Most
usually during
days,
the work
most
week,
days.
though.
Okay.
It's
Where's the go-to place for Dragon Ball Z swag? Where do you go?
Five Below.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
Spotlight here.
Okay.
Cornell is getting it tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Five
I
Below.
saw the building, but I haven't seen it open. That's fun. That's
Yeah.
exciting. I've got some good stuff. I have I can never hang on to a pen, I lose them all the time. And I got my wife this Wonder Woman pen with like a bouncy little like Wonder Woman
I
logo
have
on
seen
the
it. It's
top.
very
Yeah.
It's very bouncy. It
Yeah.
like boings.
I'm like writing and it's like bing,
It's
bing,
very
bing.
silly.
But I have successfully held on to that pen for like years, and I owe that all to Five Below. So
Five Below. It's our favorite store.
yeah.
But I am usually every day wearing either Naruto or Dragon Ball Z socks.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. This was kind of a new thing for both Allie and I, which is nice because, as you know, the premise of the show is that like Allie and I are trading off things that the other one has never tried before. But this is the first time that neither one of us knew anything about the topic.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one for us to do, just because I didn't know what she thinks and she don't know what I think. So we're not
true.
going into it with one of us having already a way in. So tell us what your way in was. How did you get into Dragon Ball Z?
Toonami. So back on Cartoon Network, after school, every day was
Yes.
Toonami.
Yes.
And then, they had their anime block, and
Yep.
Dragon Ball Z was just to a 10, 11-year-old boy. Dragon Ball Z was like, "Wah."
Yeah.
But now, it was an outlier back then,
Yeah.
because not everybody was into anime, seemingly, or any pop fiction like they are today, or it wasn't as welcomed
Yeah.
back then. So
Okay.
there was kind of niche still.
That's true, and it seems like if I remember right, it seems like Dragon Ball Z was one of the first to have that crossover appeal, to really kind of like push through the market. I've known about Dragon Ball Z for a long time, and I could have like listed names because my wife is a fan, and her entry was the same as yours, Toonami.
Yep.
Like all the way, just going home, watching Dragon Ball Z. Did that lead you into other animes, or like what?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Because my cousin also, Bobby, was into anime, and all like the '90s anime shows, and he used to let me watch all of his DVDs that were appropriate that he'd let me
Yeah,
borrow.
that's tricky. Yeah.
And but Dragon Ball Z. I'm 35 now, and it's stuck with me for the past 25 years.
Okay.
So would you say it's your favorite anime?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that why you picked it for us to try?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's Goku. Goku is like Mickey Mouse, essentially, to Japan, or
Okay,
Pikachu.
okay.
You can go either way.
Yeah.
Pikachu or Pokemon and Dragon Ball were really the like breaking the ice for
Okay.
Japanese anime in the United States.
Yeah, well, and it's got kind of a long history too, because I know the original manga was like late '80s when Dragon Ball started, but it really wasn't like hitting in the U.S. until the early 2000s.
Toonami.
Why? Yeah, but why do you think that Dragon Ball Z is the one that could do it? Like, what is there something particularly about Dragon Ball Z that you think appeals to American audiences, or do you think that just happens to be the one that they chose and that's because it was so many people's first, it has this legendary status. Like, what is it?
Yeah, I think, well, I said before Pokemon and Dragon Ball were kind of the icebreakers, but Pokemon was more of a trading card game.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an anime to it, but most people, signify Pokemon with the trading card game, and Dragon Ball Z was really the first, like, just straight up anime that people could watch, or show driven. The mangas weren't even out, manga, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
Weren't even transcribed into English yet.
Yeah.
And Toonami was just coming out. It was kind of a perfect storm of everything happening all at once. And then, if it was an outsider looking in, and I'm very curious to see how you two think of it, you would just think it's just just this fighting anime. But there's so many life lessons that you learn, and it's a great character to look up to. Goku is, and it was just kind of everything happened all at once, like 99, 2000, and then it just kept going and going and going.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, when you think about like the animation landscape, even just like as we were talking in your podcast, just about Marvel and DC and how those different things hit with people. I think in the 70s and 80s, superhero like Super Friends and stuff like that was very goofy. It was just sort of like, let's go save the day. But when you're pushing into the later 90s, you get Batman the animated series, you get X-Men the animated series, Spider-Man, and all of those had a much more serious tone and more of a serialized vibe, which I think is a nice little transition into anime. So I think like Dragon Ball Z hitting Toonami early 2000s, right? I mean, that's the perfect time, just from where I think like the cartoon landscape was heading. So, that's kind of an interesting thing to do there. Now, I told Allie last time, and I'm going to see how you feel about this, but until this episode, my only experience with anything Dragon Ball Z was the live action. As I told you, I was like, he's not going to like it, but that's all I got.
Oh my gosh.
So I went to see Dragon Ball Evolution because my wife was a fan.
Yep.
And, she was like, let's go see the Dragon Ball movie. And I was like, okay. And we finished the movie and I was like, that was pretty good. I liked it. And she was like, no. Oh, no. Have you seen this?
I haven't. I meant to watch it as part of this, but
You don't have to watch
it.
Nick
Well,
says no.
I was curious after hearing this review of it.
You can add it in the queue right after Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Okay,
you can
okay,
watch those, and then you can watch Evolution. So, not a fan of the movie.
Not a fan of the movie. It's terrible.
I only saw it once. I saw it once in theaters, and knowing nothing about the characters, I was kind of like, yeah, all right, let's do it. Why don't you like it?
The only thing that tops its crappiness, first off, is the live-action Avatar, the Last Airbender movie. But
yes, that is like M. Night Shyamalan's.
They tried to turn it into this high school teen. For Dragon Ball Evolution, they tried to turn it into this high school teen movie, which it is
I know
not.
210. I'm telling you, that's right. That's what I wanted.
No, I understand that. I like a good high school teen movie.
For sure,
but I can understand not wanting it in this.
Not wanting it to be that. Yeah.
And it had it had like the hokiness of like the Power Rangers TV shows in it. Like that's how they kind of went at it rather than just like keeping true to, the lightheartedness and then serious tones. They try to make it something that is absolutely not to appeal to an American audience that did not want that.
That's funny.
They didn't. They dropped the bar there.
Yeah, well, and nothing happened with it. I mean, I think they set up like a sequel, and everybody was like, no, please don't do this. We don't want it.
Exactly.
Save us.
All right, so Allie and I we watched what you suggested, which is Dragon Ball Super Broly, but we also did a little bit of reading too. But I don't really know, Allie, how far you went on this. I have some facts here for the manga, so let me hit you with it. Here it is. Manga written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama. There you go. The original Dragon Ball series ran for 16 volumes, published between 1985 and 1989. Dragon Ball Z ran for a total of 26 volumes, picking up in 89 and running through 1995. But the English translations didn't even come out until 2003, probably in response to
this success.
Toonami. Yeah. So, Allie, what do you got anime-wise?
Okay. Anime-wise, here's what I have while I scroll through my document here. Okay. So, which also, there's a difference between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which I was not aware of before we had to do this episode.
Yeah.
But I have some information about both. So as far as Dragon Ball, it's produced by Toei Animation, and it broadcast on Fuji TV in Japan from February 1986 to April 1989, which I did not realize that was like how far back this went. So that was an interesting realization. And it's an adaptation of the first 194 chapters of the manga, which is a lot of chapters.
That's a lot.
That's incredible, honestly. And the series begins following a young monkey-tailed boy named Goku, who befriends Bulma, and together they go on adventures, find the Dragon Balls, summon the dragon, all that stuff. In 1989 and 1990, Harmony Gold USA licensed the series for an English-language release in North America, which apparently was not hugely successful.
That was when Pioneer days. Do you remember Pioneer?
And then a subtitled version started coming out in 1992 and 94, and then again in the early 2000s, I guess. Dragon Ball Z, however, adapts the latter 325 chapters of the manga.
Wow.
That's
These are soap opera
insane.
numbers. That's intense. Okay.
You have to admire the sheer
Absolutely.
volume output.
Yeah.
Oh man, neither of you do Naruto either, do you? Because that's even
No.
that's big.
No, okay, so most of my experience with like the anime and manga world is Spy Family.
Me too.
Glenn loves
Thanks
Spy
to Ally.
Spy Family is great. And let's see, what else is there? There's Witch Hat Atelier.
Yep.
That's your thing.
I like witches a lot
Yeah.
in any story, basically.
That one's just a straight manga, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You said that with such confidence.
I was like, what's the alternative? I'm not sure here. And I feel like, you can tell me if this is fair, but I feel like those are like a little outside the like standard bread and butter like anime vibes.
No, Spy Family is very, very popular.
Okay.
I haven't heard of the one that you're talking about. That's why I assumed it was just a manga.
Niche.
but
It is a manga.
Which
We have it
niche?
in the collection.
Yeah.
You can read it if you want to.
Yeah.
It
I
is
might.
pretty fun.
I might, just so you know, by the way, people, that
Okay.
I'm in the teen room right now, and there
Yeah.
is manga everywhere.
Yeah.
They even have anime magazines over
We
there.
do.
We do.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Yeah. The only anime I've seen start to finish is Outlaw Star. That's it.
Oh, that was a very
Only
good one.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. And it was funny. Like when I was in college, my roommate was like obsessed. And my girlfriend, who I married, also big into it. So it's like everybody in my orbit was like big into anime and manga. And it just like, I don't know, it never like sunk its hooks into me. You know, I didn't do Toonami. I didn't really experiencing any of it until I was like a full grown adult, which I think, you know, is like a weird way to do it, you know, to like start at this point in life. We're coming up on the 40th anniversary. I wonder if there's going to be some big.
There's a new
crazy-
show coming out. So Dragon Ball Daima.
Okay.
Which they just released at New York City Comic Con. They
wow.
just released a trailer for.
Okay.
And it looks
Okay.
interesting. I have no idea what it's going to be about, and
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
It's interesting to me that you, because I mean, you're like 20 years into your Dragon Ball Z fandom, and you've just been like rolling along with it ever since.
Yeah, there's actually massive moments in my life that where I think about Dragon Ball. So
Really?
when my wife and I moved down to Philly, we went through the whole series, Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z,
The anime.
Like, yep.
Okay.
When we first moved down, and then now that I have kids, I'm watching it. Like, one of the proudest moments of my fatherness, or whatever you want to call it, is when my kids got into Dragon Ball, and now Gwen is branching out into other
Okay.
things like Naruto and
Okay.
stuff.
What would
you go.
happen if your kids didn't like Dragon Ball?
It'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, my son's not that into Superman, so it's just you got to take your lumps as a parent. Our assignment for today was the movie Dragon Ball Super Broly, which was released in 2018, a reimagining of a 1993 film.
Yep.
Dragon Ball Z Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. Did you like the original?
Super Saiyan.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yes, the original was fantastic.
Okay.
I almost watched the original by accident.
Oh, that would have been
I
kind
avoided
of
it. I was
interesting.
like, wait a second, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be recently released.
Yeah.
So I figured it out. It was fine. But
Okay.
So another thing that they did with the original series and that worked really well for the time to I think also spearhead getting people into it was they used all the music of the generation. So like the rock
okay.
music, which you can't find anymore unless you have the old VHSs
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you can find them online like
Yeah,
the old
music
versions.
licensing, boy, that's rough.
Yeah.
Like trying to watch an old show without it is not a good time. So
So they had like bands like Disturbed and Deftones and all those bands that I was just getting into, and they just whoever was on their marketing team nailed it.
I guess sounds like it.
But I mean, someone like your wife and my wife can also really get into it because it's not necessarily just a masculine, masculine style anime. It's there's many life lessons into it, and Goku is a true. He's a Superman essentially for
Yeah, well, there's some
just
very
that good
specific
person.
Superman parallels
Yeah.
also, like the
That's
way
true.
he's sort of like sent off in a ship and
Yep.
like raised somewhere else,
Space.
doesn't realize it's very, I
It's
mean, that
very
must have been
Superman-y.
intentional, right? I mean,
Yeah.
do you know, like, are they pulling references to Superman
I
there?
think Z is.
Okay.
Heavily, and I think
Okay.
it actually it's now started to go vice versa
Okay.
here.
Okay.
With the new movie, which I'm sure you probably read. Some of the fight scenes were actually inspired by Dragon Ball's fight scenes.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yep. So like the newest, the Henry
Yeah.
Cavill one.
Yeah. On the NDVision podcast, Nick says that he thinks that Henry Cavill is the pinnacle of male specimen.
Yeah.
Right? And you
Yeah.
stand by that.
Oh, I still
Stand by that.
Mhm.
Okay. I also know from your podcast, a different episode, that your very first like physical DVD was Dragon Ball.
Yep.
So
The original Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
When I first got my box TV.
Yeah.
My parents bought me a DVD player, and then they bought that with it.
that's cool.
I still have that. I do
Mine,
still have that.
Mine was the movie Entrapment with Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones, which I loved as a teenager. Okay, so let's see, Allie.
Wait, do you not want to know what my first DVD was?
Yes.
I'm kind of yeah. Tell me.
I don't know if I had a first.
That's what
we
I
had
thought. I didn't think you were gonna have it. So, yeah.
But my family does still have a VHS player, which we do still use.
Okay.
So
VHS is coming back. It's kind of like records. People people that
I
own
mean, the new
camps.
Beatles song is like on cassette now and stuff. you know?
Yep. Everything old is becoming new again.
Yeah.
So what did you both think of Dragon Ball Super Broly?
Okay.
Do
Well,
you want me to tell you the reason why I suggested that to you?
Yes,
Or do you want to do that
that
after?
would be
let's
good.
no give it to us.
what's
yeah.
the reason?
I think that the newest Dragon Ball Super encompasses kind of everything.
Okay.
That the Dragon Ball series has. So it has the humor, it has the lightheartedness, but it has the awesome fight scenes.
Yeah.
And it has a really just cool storyline that you couldn't, if you just came into it, I feel like it would just be like, oh, this is a cool movie.
Yeah.
Without having to know much about the series.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
That makes
So
sense.
that's why I kind of chose Dragon Ball Super Broly to get into.
I think that it made sense for us to do something that's somewhat self-contained, like a movie, because, as you said, there's so many episodes of the anime.
my
Like,
goodness.
what would be the stopping point? Like, how would you choose? How would you choose an arc?
296 episodes
Yeah.
of Dragon Ball Z alone.
Yeah.
So much.
I don't know, Allie. What did you think?
I thought it was really interesting. And so I didn't read a ton of the manga, but I read some of it. And I felt like I did that first. And I felt like that was helpful because then when I started watching the movie, I had a little bit of context for like who some of the characters were and like what the Saiyans win, the tails, and all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I had some context for that already. But I do feel like it worked pretty well as like an introduction because it got the sense of like, here's these other worlds and these different groups of like people and aliens and how they're interacting. So, yeah, I thought it was a really interesting. It was definitely very different from like my usual go-to movie watching, but yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna like watch a ton of Dragon Ball now, but like I had a good time and it was very interesting to experience.
Okay. I did something similar. I as soon as we got the assignment, I was like, okay, I know that Broly's going to be the focus, but I want to like go back to the very beginning and just see like the first time these characters were introduced. So I read the first 3 volumes of just the Dragon Ball manga, so like the very beginning, and I had a pretty good time with those. It's a totally different vibe, I feel like, than like
Pretty wide gap.
Yeah.
There between
yeah,
one to
it
another.
is. And like some of it, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't age well. But I had a pretty good time with those. And then I watched the movie, and I agree with you that I felt like knowing a little bit about just what it was getting into, because the live action movie was not helpful in that regard. So knowing a little bit about it was helpful. And I feel like it, even though it was new, felt like kind of a throwback to me. It still had sort of like it felt very like 80s in its vibe and its colors and like fight scenes and everything like that. So I appreciated watching it, but it's just not my vibe. It's just, I was hoping that I would be like, this is a whole new world for me to explore. And I was like, I'm glad I did that. But I think that would probably be where my journey would end.
I
know?
just could only picture like you saying that about Dragon Ball, but like on a magic carpet, like Jasmine, like waving to the villagers, a whole new world.
Yeah. That makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. Is that disappointing?
No, it's not. I think because it's not for everybody, and also if you didn't kind of start with it, I think it would be kind of hard to dive into without kind of starting in the beginning and going up, because you don't have that emotional connection.
Yeah,
like a lot of
true.
the early fans have to it. Like I have such a massive emotional connection to it because, like I said, there's key factors in my life. Like when I used to get grounded, my mom would still watch the show, I'd have to go outside, and my mom would still watch the show just to tell me what happened.
Oh.
You know, because
That's funny.
It was so big. So I
Yeah.
have like memories with my mom, with my wife, with my kids,
That's
with my
hilarious.
friends, because we used to talk
I like to
about
picture
it.
your mom just doing like a rundown of everything that happened in the episode. So then, the one with the tail.
Yeah, and she loved it too. And you know, when Goku turned into a Super Saiyan, which is the next level evolution for him,
Okay.
you know, she's like, "Why does he have blonde hair?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah,
Goku.
he does have blonde hair. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
thought
what
that
your
was
that's what your
interesting.
shirt represents
Yep.
there. That's
This is
that.
Super Saiyan 3.
era of it.
Actually,
Okay.
there's multiple
Okay.
transformations.
Okay.
So I think I appreciate that you kind of just appreciated the ride that you
Yeah.
did, and you know, now when people talk about it, you at least have that because it
True.
is so huge.
Yeah.
Especially with you, with all the teens, you have that kind of. You said before before we started street cred.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going on.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
I just need to like leave Dragon Ball on my desk now, just to give
Yeah.
me more street cred, because that's what happened.
yeah, just have it there.
Just have it sitting there.
How cool I am. So I watched that, and then I watched. My wife just had the Dragon Ball Kai,
Yep.
which is like so we.
That's where they cut out all the kind of fluff.
Yeah,
out of it
and
just
like
go
tightened
straight
it up.
to the.
So that's been at our house forever. So I watched the first episode of that too, and I watched that one with my wife, and she was like, "More, let's keep going." But
What does cut out all the fluff mean?
So there's a lot of filler episodes.
Okay.
In Dragon Ball, kind of in between, like they're called sagas. So there's like the Saiyan saga, the Frieza saga. Also, Frieza is arguably one of the greatest villains. He's kind of like the Joker.
Okay.
He's like if Goku's Batman, Frieza is Joker. They kind of can't exist. They're kind of frenemies, but
Okay.
Frieza is also very bad.
Okay.
But you kind of have that Stockholm
Yeah.
syndrome where you're like, oh, this is kind of a cool character though.
yeah.
What were we talking about? I just got off on Dragon Ball. I could talk about this all day.
What I was saying was one thing that. So I watched this with my son, and he was definitely more
Oh, you
like.
would ask about the fluff, the filler episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had to know
So
what
Kai,
this.
so
what
Kai
this
cuts
meant.
out the filler episodes.
Now I
it's just more
understand.
like
So
streamlined.
that just kind of keeps going from cool thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my son was like, like he just really liked all the visuals and everything, and it really like held his attention for the whole length of the movie, which isn't always the case, but yeah. So he had a good time with it, and so that was kind of cool to see, you know, how that relates and everything. But one of the things that I thought was cool about even just in the movie, I feel like you kind of have the option, like how much you want to invest, because if you're just there for like, you know, action sequences and like the fighting and just like the good versus evil, you got it. It's there. But I also felt like on the back end of it, so much in the characters' history and their interactions and like even like their lineage, just everything. There's so many like multifaceted levels to it that if you really want to get into the weeds, there's also like a lot of story there.
Oh yeah,
But it kind of seems like you can decide, you know what I mean, like how much you want to get into it.
that's very true. So like you said, if you just want to watch a really cool visual, animated movie that you can watch with your kids, because it's, I mean, I feel like 6 and up or 5 and up can be completely fine with it. But it's just there's so much to it. You can dive in and dive out, kind of, especially with the movies at any time. And but to the OG, me, it's just like such a massive moment or a massive thing in our lives. It's kind of like it would be Superman to you.
Yeah. Well, my wife was saying, like, after we watched it and she got to telling me about like what she liked about it and everything, she was saying like, yeah, she likes like the action, she likes the adventure of it, but like she would just get so invested into like the characters' lives, invested in it as just like a long-term serialized kind of story, and seeing little things like teed up and paid off like so much longer, that was something that she would really look forward to and watching it. And I just think that's cool. I think like being able to latch on to something like that and see these long storylines through is cool when you also have 3 episodes that's just like one epic fight. So it's like,
Oh, it's more than 3. On the next episode of Dragon Ball Z, that was like, we were like, why are they stopping it?
still fighting, the fight continues.
Allie, who was your favorite character in the movie that when you watched it?
I liked the green one.
Piccolo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was,
Piccolo's a lot of people's favorite.
He's in the live action movie, you should check it out. I'm just kidding.
A lot of the characters were fun though, and like even though I didn't fully know what was going on, I was like, I don't know, just like some of the character dynamics. It felt like there was more that wasn't necessarily like shown in the movie, but like you could tell that there was more behind kind of the interactions and the like
Vegeta
branch
and
dynamics and
Goku
stuff.
are, they're the same race. They're one of the only ones left of the
Yeah.
race, aside from their children, and they started out as enemies
Yeah.
and then became friends.
Yeah, I thought their dynamic was really fun and funny.
Yeah.
And the whole like fusion.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah.
My
That was
friends and I
hilarious
used to do
to
that
me.
all the time.
That was about the only thing Ellie and I talked about before this. She was like, I love that fusion dance.
Yep.
So, that is genuine. Yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
then when they mess up the fusion and they would do like
Right? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to practice. And I assumed that they were going to practice by, like, doing the dance but not actually doing the fusion.
Yeah.
But no, they practiced by doing the fusion. And we're just like, whoops.
Yeah.
the whole time Frieza, who is their enemy, is getting the crap beat out of
I
him.
know. Oh, my gosh. It's like, all right, glad you guys feel like you have the time to do this a few times.
Well, we have so much Dragon Ball Z here in the collection. I mean, we have the manga, we have anime, we have games, we have on the Xbox even we have a Dragon Ball game. So there's so much to do here. So come check out the anime collection or the graphic novel collection, the manga collection if you're local, because we have a ton of it. Nick, I know you suggested Broly for us, but for somebody out there who maybe is already an anime fan, but for whatever reason has never gotten into this world, like what do you think the best starting point is for somebody who's kind of already a fan of the genre?
I honestly would say Broly again, because
Yeah.
I just feel like that's a good gateway.
Okay.
And then, like you said, if they want to dive into it more, because there's enough there, like Ali was talking about, that it's like, oh, okay, so there's some past here. What is that all about? And if they want to go back, great. If not, they can just enjoy it for what it is and kind of hop in and hop out as
Yeah, because
pleased.
it does function pretty well as a standalone.
Yeah.
I feel like. I mean, there's certainly threads, obviously, that like you want to go. What is the actual next step in that? Like, is there another movie that
After
follows
Broly?
it? Yeah, or is that going to
yeah,
a series?
so there's another movie which I actually didn't care for.
Oh,
It's called Dragon Ball Superhero.
Okay.
And it wasn't because of the storyline or anything. It was actually the animation, because they
Oh.
did the 3D animation
Oh,
with it, and I'm just not.
the animation in this was very like had that 80s vibe. It
Oh, yeah.
really did. It
Yep.
really did.
Well, that's what anime is,
Yeah.
right? It's hand drawings. They've some of it has utilized computer animation very well with like
Yeah.
the sceneries and the backgrounds and stuff. You can tell that's computer animated,
Yeah.
but the characters, I feel like in any anime, still need to have that 2D kind of
Yeah.
vibe.
I was worried that I was watching the 93 version because of the animation. I was like, no,
Well, they
this
did
is
that
right.
on purpose.
This is right. Oh, okay.
Yep. So they actually wanted it to feel like, because the original is kind of the most popular
Okay.
movie, because there's 13
Well, that's okay.
standalone
That's
movies.
bonus points for
just
that.
in
I
Dragon
like
Ball
that.
Z.
I
Yeah.
like that connection. Okay.
And they had the One Piece animators actually
Okay.
animate Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Okay.
Fun tidbit. I don't know if you've heard of One Piece, but it's another massive manga anime series.
Yeah,
that
yeah. Also,
continues
its
on.
live action show was kind of taken off at the moment too.
Oh yeah, on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you seen any of that? Do you
I
have
have-
opinions on it?
I have not seen any of it. We don't pay for a Netflix subscription. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I have seen One Piece, and pretty much anything. Dragon Ball Z is called Shonen anime. It comes out in Shonen Jump or whatever it was called. But it's a very signature style of anime with that fighting, and it's very long form driven. So Naruto, massively inspired by Dragon Ball. One Piece, massively Black Clover. Any of the new animes in that genre take so much from it, but they're on for so long that they kind of become their own little identity, which is pretty cool.
Okay. Interesting.
So for new Dragon Ball experiencers
Yeah.
after Broly, what would you say is the next step?
I would say if they really liked Broly, to go to just the series.
Okay.
The original
Okay.
series, or actually even Kai. They could even go to Kai, because Kai is, it'll
Cuts out the
move
fluff?
them. It'll move along a little
Less fluffy.
quicker, and
Yeah.
and it has better animation than the original one. So, and it is all the original series. It's actually truer to the manga.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So it basically takes the whole manga series, because the manga didn't have much fluff
Okay.
or fillers. It just
Yeah.
kept going.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think Dragon Ball Kai would be a great next step if they
Okay.
went into it.
All right. Alice, so you don't think you're not gonna continue reading the manga or anything like that?
I might go a little further with
Okay.
the manga. We'll see.
All right. I think our system has the next collection of the original Dragon Ball manga, and I did kind of like that, so I could see picking that up again.
It is a completely different series.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
if you start with Dragon Ball, it's cool, but if you start with Dragon Ball Z, it's hard to go back. to
Yeah.
Dragon
Well,
Ball.
yeah, because it's almost it's
You'd
kind
have to
of-
go halfway through the series to get to like the martial arts
Yeah,
tournaments.
and it's more it plays younger. It feels a little bit more like childish, but like not in a bad way. It just
There's a lot of raunchy humor in the original series too.
There is. Yeah, that's what I was like. That's not. I don't think that dates very well. But yeah, there is that. That's for sure.
And there still is in Dragon Ball Z. Not as much in the later episodes, but it's more of a wink than a blatant in your face.
Yeah, some of the early
Master Roshi.
There is. Yes, that's the one. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Master Roshi is the person that trained Goku and his friend Krillin.
Yeah, and he's a dirty old man in the graphic novels. So,
And also with Dragon Ball Super Broly, it has kind of all the characters that you want. So it has all the original, like Yamcha, Krillin. Krillin is the little short bald man. He's not bald anymore. He has black hair.
Yeah.
He's short. He's Goku's best friend, and he's the strongest Earthling there is. So it has all those characters in it, which is cool as well.
Okay. Well, this was enlightening and a first for But Have You Tried, where Allie and I both came in blind. So thanks for suggesting it. Where can people find your show?
Anywhere that podcasts are listened to, if you type in NDVision, and I have its own separate Facebook page. So just NDVision.
Nice.
And it'll pop right up.
Okay.
It's a picture of me with multiple color backgrounds.
Yeah. You're having a great, it's like Andy Warhol does. Yeah. It's great. Well,
where can people listen to your podcast?
Oh.
Because I'm going to share this to mine. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was saying, I mean, it's everywhere. We get a lot of listens, I think, on Spotify. That's one of the bigger places that it's at. But yeah, it is on Podbean, and anywhere you get your podcast, you should be able to find it. We also post the episodes to YouTube on the library page, David A. Howe. So yeah, you can come check it out.
What's your next episode?
Well, I don't know
because
that's
what we have to talk about.
That's up to Allie. Allie, we've disrupted the flow. So I had suggested the others to Allie for a Halloween episode.
Oh, yeah.
And then we took a left turn to talk about Dragon Ball. So it falls back to you, Allie. So I don't know.
Okay, so we just finished Dragon Ball Z, which is a little bit out of your regular wheelhouse.
Yes.
Something else that I think might also be a little bit out of your regular wheelhouse.
Okay.
Is the Christmas movie called The Princess Switch, starring Vanessa Hudgens.
That is outside of my wheelhouse. Yes.
I've never heard of that movie.
So
that doesn't surprise me.
Okay, so is it like a Prince and the Pauper kind of scenario where you
a little bit,
places?
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's starring Vanessa Hudgens and Vanessa Hudgens.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Parent Trap style.
It's like lower quality Christmas Orphan Black kind of is the situation.
Okay. No, well, I can tell you that I have never tried the Princess Switch. Is that what it is? Where do I watch it?
I'm not sure offhand.
Okay.
We can do some looking.
Sounds like a Netflix thing.
I think it's a Netflix thing.
Is there more than one?
There are 3 of them.
3 of them. Okay.
You don't have to watch all 3.
Okay.
But if you really enjoy the first one, the second and third only escalate the stakes.
Got it.
So like my family likes to joke like, oh, if there's a 4th one, there will be aliens. Like that's the stakes have escalated.
There's 3 of them?
There's 3 of them.
Wow.
3.
All Vanessa Hudgens?
Well, I mean, there's other characters,
okay.
But Vanessa Hudgens, at first she plays just 2 characters, but then in the second one she plays 3 characters.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, I know. Oh.
In the third one, does she play 4 characters?
No, just still 3
Oh,
characters.
come on. Okay. All right.
But yeah, the second and third have like a little bit of like kidnapping and like heisting and that kind of stuff. But the first one is like more classic-y, Christmas, romance, princes, that kind of stuff.
This is not what I thought you were going to say. Like, we had talked about maybe doing something Christmassy. I thought you were going to throw some like 1980s Christmas VHS tape at me or something like that.
No, that's a good guess, but not this time.
Prancer, some treasured family thing. But this is almost hip for you.
I do watch this with my family most years.
Every year.
So.
Wow. Okay. So in 2 weeks we'll reconvene just to talk about all we've been reading and watching and touch base. And then after that we're going to talk about at least
the first
Princess Switch. Christmas, it's like a Mad Lib.
The Princess Switch.
Princess Switch. Oh, but it is Christmas set.
It's a Christmas movie, but it's just
Switch.
called The Princess Switch.
So we're going to talk about that.
Is
and
it
maybe
on Disney Plus?
More.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Okay. Well, thanks again to our guest, Nic Davis. Make sure you listen to the NDVision podcast and join us back here when we're going to be talking about the Princess Switch.
Yeah. And congratulations on this podcast, by the way. I listened to your miso soup one so far, but I'm going to listen to the rest of them because it's very fun seeing some of hearing, I guess, some of the differences in your styles of what you do.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. It's a really cool idea.
All right. Thanks. All right. Well, good times. See you around.
Take